on Southampton. We thought this would be easy for City. After that victory away against Huddersfield, we thought, well, they'd collect themselves, come out against Southampton's side, but they were made to really work for this win. Even after they took the lead after 90 seconds into the second half, we thought, well, you know, now they'll get it done. Southampton got back in the game, and in the end it was Raheem Sterling, the saviour.
Southampton had little possession, but they did have, particularly from set pieces, they were a threat. A bit like Huddersfield at the weekend, this was a tough nut to crack, which we didn't think it would be. The skill from Buffal and the set-up for the goal was excellent, but this City side, we can talk about their talent all day, but they've got a bit of guts as well, and they go all the way to the end, albeit it was 5 minutes of injury time, which you think might be a bit...
Don't get him started on
there might be a debate as why, that's a different story.
Don't.
But, you know, if they just kept slogging away, and they're just having out all the other teams that are chasing, or the 2 or 3 teams that are chasing, they just get them on the edge of their seat thinking, there's a chance, and then bang.
This is it, Ali. If you're a Manchester United fan, you're thinking, oh, hey, you know, we're going to close the gap here. We can shut those FC people up and say it's over.
And by the way, they have tried to do that quite often. What I would say about Manchester City today is that here's a team that did not play well, that could not keep the ball the same way that we have seen them, that turned the ball over in many areas, in bad areas at times, giving Southampton opportunities to attack. And having said all that, then it's not Gabriel Jesus, and it's not Sergio Aguero, it's not De Bruyne, it's not David Silva, it's Raheem Sterling, who continues to be, at this point, the guy who's scoring the big goals for Manchester City. And so you go back a couple of years ago when he made this decision to go to Manchester City and how much he was criticized for it. And you have to say, at this point, whether it's Guardiola, whether it's his maturation as a player, his personal growth as a player and as a person, whatever the case may be, right now we are seeing the best of him, and the best of him is very good.
Which is exemplified perfectly when you take a look at his stats. Just compared to last season, 33 games, 7 goals. He's only played 12 games. In fact, he started 9 matches, 9 goals. You could throw in 4 as well for the Champions League. This is some turnaround, Gab.
It is, and I think, you know, I mean, when we say this, people are saying that we're blowing smoke with Pep, but like, the reality is he has worked with individuals and he's made certain individuals better. And I think that was the case with John Stones as well before he got injured. You see it with Otamendi as well. And you see it in other things. I mean, today the breakthrough came on a set piece. They've scored goals on set pieces to a level that they didn't last year. And this is not a big team physically. And defensively on set pieces, they have yet to concede a set piece goal in the Premier League. And when you look at the size of these defenders and the size of this team, it's pretty remarkable. But if you prepare and you study, then you can stop people from scoring.
You also got to get lucky, because Southampton did hit a post. They hit the crossbar of a set piece, and they'd have an opportunity, clear opportunity by Yoshida late in the first half, also of a set piece. So there's a little bit of good fortune. That is also what you need if you're going to win a title. There's going to be moments where you're going to need good fortune, but when you need execution, you're going to have that, and you had that from Sterling.
Note, Dan, that when Southampton failed to score off a set piece and it comes close, and by the way, there's still people defending them, then that's good fortune. But when Raheem Sterling hits the ball from outside the box in the 95th minute, that's purely execution. Is that what you're saying?
Right. I don't know where this has gone. All I want to do is talk about Raheem Sterling and his change in form.
Well, I think the key thing for any player in his sort of position and is final third, right? And I don't just mean goals, although they're coming. Clearly, the big criticism of him was he was so rash so many times and so raw in the most important area of the field, that final third, that he was scuffing shots, the crossing wasn't great, the technique wasn't fantastic, he was rushing everything, he was panicking, and he's whilst it's not perfect, he seems to me as if, and you're absolutely right, I think the coach is certainly part of this, and his coaching team is getting him to be a little bit slower, quicker in mind, but slower in tempo in the final third, and making sure he does the right thing. Making sure he picks the right pass, he makes the right move, or he picks that right decision. And I think that's been the big improvement on him. There are still times he goes through in goals, and you think he goes back to his old ways. But more often than not, we're seeing a Raheem Sterling that when he's in that critical area of the field, he's now doing what a Kevin De Bruyne would do, a Sergio Aguero would do. Maybe not as often, but he's doing it more than he was, and I think that is the big difference.
What you see from him is a player that now seems to be comfortable with himself, with who he is as a player, what his role is on the field. The finish today is special in many ways, not only because it's the game winner, but it's because at that point you're thinking the Raheem Sterling of last year, we go even the beginning of this season, takes that ball, takes the first touch and just bangs it and hopes that something happens. There was a moment there, to your point, that where he slows it down. He does take a touch, he takes a look up and he shapes that ball to the far post. There is intent there. And so yes, it's no accident that he puts it there because the execution was perfect by Raheem
There was a
Sterling.
goal in the Champions League recently. I think it was the Feyenoord. What is in their group?
Feyenoord.
It was the Feyenoord. I'm getting mixed up with him. Yeah, Anderlecht. Feyenoord. I think it was a Feyenoord game, but I stand corrected if it's not. But anyway, it was Raheem Sterling. The ball gets played down between the left-sided centre-back and the left-back. He's in that little channel. The angle's decent, but it's a little narrow. And the keeper comes out and he dinks a beautiful little chip over him into the roof of the net. That wasn't happening last year. That wasn't happening. He's scuffing it past the post or he's hitting it into the goalkeeper. So he's making better decisions. I think a lot of that comes with one, technique, two, help from the coaching, but three, confidence. If a player, it doesn't matter if you're on £250,000 a week or £25 a week, if you're not confident in that area, you're going to struggle.
I think these things are related, and it's pretty obvious, especially when you see City in person. Because he's part of a unit that has very defined patterns of play, and because he's got so many good players around him, the game slows down for him in a way that maybe it didn't before, and that in turn gives him confidence, and you get to that level when also you yourself work extremely hard in training, and also off the ball too. The stuff he does, he's come on in leaps and bounds.
By the way, did you see the coach at the end, Guardiola? You see how he was prancing around?
Well,
he knows how.
Gab started off this segment by saying we don't want to blow smoke a lot, with
No, he wanted to talk about the 5 minutes added time.
A lot of people say, hey, it's easy for Pep. Look, he's got all the money in the world. It's easy to buy a team. We obviously give him credit for this because he's a big part as to why.
Well, unfortunately, the way the game's gone now, you pretty much have to be in that ballpark to be getting success at the elite level. Unfortunately, the old days of just coaching the hind legs off the donkey is not going to work anymore. I mean, he is getting more out of certain players, but I think there was some like the fullbacks that he let go who were, I think they were in their 30s. He just thought, I'm not going to teach these guys new tricks anymore, so I'm going to have to make changes, and when the time's right, I'll get them out. So he has done a bit of both. But almost every manager wants to be a checkbook manager now. But that's just the way it is.
I want to move on because obviously we talked about Manchester City a lot. Raheem Sterling TV is over for the moment. Let's focus on Arsenal, shall we? And their victory against Huddersfield. 5-0 win for Arsene Wenger's side. And who was the star of the show? Mesut Ozil.
Yeah.
2 goals.
I was going to say, who was the star of the show? Tottenham.
Not good for Spurs, obviously. Mesut Ozil, we've talked about him a lot on this couch. Cynics would say, hey, look, the January transfer window's coming up. Are Arsenal looking to cash in on him? Is he trying to force their hand with a 300 grand a week deal? Is this why he's playing better? Or is he just getting better support?
I think a bit of everything here. I think Wenger's stated this week in saying he expects both Sanchez and Ozil to be there to the end of the season. I don't know if that will be the case. He's had a good period, played well for Germany in the friendly against France, played really well in the North London derby. I think was missing at the weekend through illness. Back in the team against a team that are going down the league in Huddersfield, but they've been great. Is it enough of a run of games to make you want to break the bank in terms of wages? I'm not sure it is for Arsenal, to be honest. But it's a great turn of form for them. I mean, obviously, they've rocketed themselves into 4th.
Sure.
They're just behind Chelsea. They play Man United at the weekend at home. If they beat them, they go a point behind United. So all of a sudden, things have taken a great turn for them.
The one negative from today's games, Lacazette going off injured. Arsene Wenger confirmed he's going to be out for that United match. Obviously, it's a big blow. How much of a game changer is?
Well, you're not guaranteed he wasn't going to leave him out anyway.
He could have done it again.
He couldn't have done. Well, Giroud will have to pick the baton up, won't he?
Yeah.
He'll have to. It's simple as that. Yeah. That is a blow.
Well, he scored today, I suppose.
It's a blow. It is a blow.
But again, let's put this in context. And we look at the scorelines at the end. They beat Huddersfield. When you score after 2 minutes against a team like Huddersfield, given the way that they play, that Huddersfield are going to run themselves into the ground, and then ultimately fatigue sets in, And then if you've got more quality and you're smart about it, then you go and you pile on the goals at the end, which is what Arsenal did. So they're definitely moving in the right direction, and that's hugely, hugely encouraging. But let's also put this within the context of this game today.
At Marcotti, Arsenal fans.
No.
He's not giving you any praise.
So, yeah, get involved. 5-0 and he finds fault.
to tell him.
That's the way it goes.
I'm far more impressed with the Spurs game, for example.
We've got to talk about Chelsea, a 1-0 victory for them against Swansea. Antonio Conte getting sent off in the first half. Not happy about the decision with regards to a corner.
Well, I'd rather it was my manager getting sent off than a player.
He was shouting at the fourth official's face. The referee sent him off as a result. He went to the stands and then he had to then go off properly down the tunnel.
I don't know where he went.
He went and he went behind the bench into like the first row with the fans, and
he was hiding there.
Yeah, they wouldn't know him.
Well, they just had to get a win.
Yeah, they got to win.
I mean, again,
does this concern you about Conte?
What?
Like this sort of mood, this kind of attitude in a match against Swansea?
I don't think he's ever changed, Gab. He's always been like that.
But he wasn't. I think I'm right in saying he was never sent off last season, was he?
Well, they were winning 13 games in a row.
Well, you see, this is it, isn't it? Do you want this from your coach? Do you need to see him in this sort of attitude?
I don't care. I don't think from a player's perspective. I certainly never took any notice, not one iota of notice, what my manager was doing on the touchline.
Often what he was telling you either.
Well, because I was just blanking him. Yeah. So I never took any notice, to be honest with you. What I found more surprising was Conte's reaction at Liverpool at the weekend. He was so effusive and so, demonstrative at a point.
Yeah, when he was celebrating that at the end.
At a point at Liverpool would have been great if you were like a point behind Man City.
Yeah.
But they're so far behind, they had to have a win. That's what surprised me.
I'll tell you what will surprise you. What we've got to show you after the break. An incredible hat-trick from the one and only Wayne Rooney.
Rooney!
Everton thrash West Ham 4-0.
A little bit. I'm sorry. Well done, Wayne.
No, we were talking on the show yesterday. I think there was some. I think we put a graphic up in some segment that went somewhere.
Yeah.
That Everton were not one of the favourites to go down.
Sure, yeah.
And I think that kind of shows that today, that whilst they've hired a new manager, they've got a great result, and there are at least something there to work with. Clearly, there's a lot of work to be done there, but they're not as bad as recent results have been showing. They might be a bit of an imbalanced squad, but they've got better players than they were showing. They were making horrendous mistakes at the back, particularly Ashley Williams. He's made David Unser was unable to get a tune out of them. And I suppose West Ham were the perfect tonic going there, but at least gives Allardyce something going forward. What is it, a month before Gab's favourite transfer window in the Gab Rummer? So I think both clubs might be busy in that transfer window.
It was actually a good day for both Merseyside clubs. Liverpool with a comfortable victory as well away at home. Salah once again getting the goals. Signing of the summer.
Well, the Mo Salah's flying.
This is it.
Well, and I know, by the way, he's scoring goals for fun, right? And Steven Nicol has sat here and said, well, I don't know that he's going to be the guy. I don't know that he... Well, let me tell you, he's been key for you. Yeah. He has been the guy that... I don't know that people really were expecting this many goals and this soon, but he has been key. And when other players perhaps haven't had the roles that they would have liked, Salah has been the guy that has shown speed, has shown quality, has shown an ability to finish, and now has become more consistent with that finish. And that comes from confidence as well. You start scoring goals, then all of a sudden, everything looks a little bit bigger for you in terms of shooting on goal. And now that confidence, you can see it flowing. He has been impressive.
Surprise, Gab, yeah? Top scorer in the league?
Scored a ton of goals in Serie A as well. And I think in this system, he was a good bet to flourish. What I was skeptical about was defensively how we would fit into the pressing game. But Klopp's changed the pressing game, what they do off the ball this year, and they've flourished certainly as an attacking force. Now, they still have other issues elsewhere, but if you're Mane and you're Firmino, having a guy who can do that alongside you, that's got to make things so much easier.
Earlier, the conversation was about, well, what's going to happen when Coutinho comes back into the rotation? Well, Salah is going to have to sit. Salah is staying. Somebody else is sitting.
So overall, you take a look at the table. The big losers this week has to be Spurs, down to 7. Manchester City remain top of the table, 8 points clear of United. Burnley, by the way, with a win away against Bournemouth.
Who'd have thought?
6th. I was going to talk about Romelu Lukaku because, of course, he didn't have the best of games despite the 4-2 win away against Watford. Jose Mourinho joked that, you know, maybe he needs some new boots. He then went on to say, jokes apart, he works amazingly well for the team, and I will never, never blame a player like him for the easy chance that he missed. That's good, isn't it?
So, I'm not going to blame him. However, Romero, that was an easy chance.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Passive-aggressive.
Yes, very passive-aggressive, and I think he makes a point. And it's a point well taken in regards to Romelu Lukaku, who has missed opportunities over the last few games. And the thing that I would be concerned is whether that confidence is going away. And when you have a striker, there's a huge difference between a striker who's confident and one that is not. And this huge difference is goals and productivity. And you're going to need these goals if you're going to keep up with Manchester City. Simple as that.
How much patience will he have with him? We've already seen him criticise Mkhitaryan, Smalling, Shaw. You know, the list is quite long with regards to United players.
Well, I think any manager's patience would run thin if there was a long drought and nobody else was pitching in.
Right.
And then your near neighbours, your big rivals, your nemesis in the other dugout was just getting further and further away. Then I think his patience would wear thin. Very.
He's got...
Very.
United are scoring goals. He has alternatives. Lukaku is working for the team. He's not scoring goals, but he's certainly working more off the ball than and differently and better, I think, than he did last year at Everton when he did score a lot of goals. So, you know,
but he's a striker. You want him to score goals.
Yeah, of course. But who cares? I mean, I sort of take Mourinho on face value at this. You know,
why would you ever do that?
Well,
it's a little shot. It's a little jab.
He's got a huge opportunity at the weekend.
Yes,
it's
isn't it?
One of the biggest games of the season.
Yeah, United against Arsenal is going to be a massive game, as we mentioned.
At Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly.
When he needs to stand up, they've already beaten Tottenham this season at home. They need to win, and he needs to stand up.